what you need to do first of all is you need to set up your grid pattern. I've started it off. What's important is to remember that for every row of full dots that you do an alternate row where you skip every second dot. So I'll do two more rows here. This one is going to be every dot, trying to keep them fairly straight and evenly spaced. Yeah, as long as it's roughly, pretty close, it's going to be okay. All right, and now this one, my second row, I'm just doing every second dot. Okay, so that I end up with a grid where there's a missing dot sort of in the center of each box. Next, I'm going to draw my C shapes, I suppose, or S shapes if you go across the 3 dots all the way down. Then my next full row, I'm going to do going in the same direction. Then I'm going to do my crossways ones. Now the important thing to remember is I want it to be sort of like a pinwheel, all of them going in the same direction. So all of these curves need to be going in the same way. It's pretty obvious, but it's amazing. If you're not, I sort of try and think of these things when I'm drawing because so easy to muck them up. Okay, so that's my basic grid. You can see I haven't completely covered some of the dots. By the time we've drawn all of the lines, they'll be covered. I might just swap. I was drawing that in an 08, so it was a bit easier to see, but it's a little bit chunky for some of this detail work. When I draw, I normally use an 005 or a 01. This one I'm going to use an 05, so that again, so it's fairly clear, but it's just not quite as big as the 08. Now for the comma-shaped strokes, they're like an S stroke. They start from the center out and then come into the dot. Okay, so you can already see that dot starting to disappear. So from the center to the dot. Keep going. Next row. Once you get comfortable with that, you can do it in a continuous motion like this if you want to. I try not to make these too big because there's a few more strokes to go. Right, now this one, I've got to do it a bit of an awkward angle so I don't have to move my paper. I'm afraid once I move it, I'll never get it back to the right position to be able to see it on camera. So I'm going to do these in a continuous stroke. I'll do these ones with the individual strokes, so from the center of each pattern, just to the dot. And from the center to the dot. Okay, so that's the first two strokes complete. Now we're going to do another stroke, starting again from the center, and then I like to run it right along the top. So it's sitting right over the stroke at the top. Now that doesn't always happen consistently, but if I can do it, that's how I prefer it to look, so that you get this neat crossover here and it doesn't get too bulky at that spot. This is another one that you can do in a continuous motion. I'll do them individually for this line. It's just what you're comfortable with. If you're, I like anything that sort of speeds up what I'm doing. Just make sure it crosses over where that dot was, here in the middle. Okay, bring it out. This stroke's a good one to be able to, perhaps if you've got some that are a bit irregular size, you can sort of use that to even up the sizes of your shapes. Okay, so for this one, I'll do this one in a continuous stroke. Sort of continuous. It's an odd angle, so I can't be too flowy with my drawing. And the last one. Okay, almost done. Last stroke is just these little strokes in here. Make sure everything crosses the center. You'll get rid of all of your dots. Everything will look nice and tidy. So cross over, there, and I like them to come sort of from this bit here where it starts to curve out. Again, this is one you can do in a continuous stroke too, and I think it looks better actually, but it's up to you. Just bring it round, just like that. Another S-shaped stroke. You can see I've got some odd sizes there, but it looks okay. If I concentrate and I take a bit more time, I can get them all even, but you know, I'm not really too worried about it. I find you don't usually focus on those individual bits with the whole pattern. Okay, that's basically the pattern complete.